Hello, my name's Matt Denman, and I'm a PhD in nuclear engineering. And I was wondering, you mentioned the importance of low-carbon energy to the world's future. Can you take a couple minutes to talk about the role of nuclear power to provide that energy, given that you're investing in nuclear reactor designs through TerraPower?
Well, the energy problem's one of these incredible problems. And the progress of civilization, you can almost measure it as the price of energy goes down. So many great things happen. We have a civilization that's based on very cheap power. And, it's great. We need to continue that. If you look at what technologies could really provide the electricity demand, say 40 years from now, there are very few. And most of the ones that are kind of cute and cuddly have two big problems. I'm talking about solar PV, solar thermal, solar chemical, the various solar approaches, or the wind approach. Those two have, one, it's energy farming. And so the density, the acreage involved, the watts per square meter of those things, it makes it very hard. And when you do farming, you get wind, you get snow, you get, your capital equipment isn't in a coal plant that's protected from the elements. It's large and widespread. So that's very hard. But even if you get past that, there's the intermittency problem, where you can't, on a 24-hour period, or when the clouds screw you up or the wind doesn't blow, you have this storage problem. And you can ask, I think, reasonable researchers, will there be in the next 40 years the ability to store, say, the amount of energy that the U.S. uses over a 24-hour period in, pick your favorite technique, battery, water storage, thermal storage. There aren't many choices. And it's not clear. We should work on that. Professor Sadoway, a lot of people are looking at radical battery technology that could, in terms of cost and capacity, get us in a very different space than even the lithium learning curve will get us to. So you don't want to just bet on those, because their costs are hard because it's farming, and the intermittency thing. Once you get above, say, 20% from intermittent sources, you've got a problem. It's cute. It works well up to about 20%, where you ask the baseload guys, which today those are the hydro, coal, natural gas, nuclear guys. You ask them to suck it up when the wind doesn't blow. Anyway, nuclear in some ways is the coolest of all, because you put the plant near the demand. You don't care if there's sun or not. There's lots of countries that don't have sun and wind much at all. And so you have to say, are they willing to have the political risks of having their energy coming from, say, Libya, and over some big transmission infrastructure? Anyway, nuclear has the advantage that the amount of energy sort of per atom is about a million times better than coal or natural gas. So you start with this huge advantage, and yet, given the complexity of the plants and the things you have to do, you more than wipe out your million-for-one advantage. And today's nuclear plants are fairly expensive, at least the way they're built outside of China. They're quite expensive. China's actually building them in 3 years and competitive with coal, so they're pushing the state of the art, and they're standardizing designs and things like that. Anyway, so nuclear is one of the directions that we should innovate in. Nuclear innovation stopped in the 1970s. We basically have this sub-design thing that was put into Shippingport for the first power generator, and we basically built 400 of those that are all kind of custom, but not in any interesting way. They're all LWRs and PWRs. And the industry did not innovate much at all. There's this third generation passive safety AP1000, but except for that, it didn't do much. So the question is, can we get 1,000 bright minds with 20 different ideas? And we're starting to see that. I don't happen to believe in modular reactors, but some people do. That's great. Some people like these molten salt reactors. That's a little bit tricky. The crazy group I'm backing, we use U-238, depleted uranium. And because we have fast neutrons, we have this neutron budget that's very different. Now, our main problem is a material science problem, is these damn neutrons. degrade the cladding and everything, and we don't have a predictable way of saying, over a 40-year lifetime, how various materials deal with that. If you look at the fusion guys, their neutrons are like 1,000 times worse than our neutrons, but even ours those guys have 14 MeV neutrons. Good luck to them. But people should work on that. That is not an easy thing in terms of the economics. So nuclear in terms of baseband is incredible. And if you use this approach we're talking about, it is infinite. That is, you can filter out of the sea very cheaply enough uranium to run this thing for as long as the sun will shine. So in that sense, is it, quote, renewable, quote? Well, it's infinite. You don't worry about the amount of uranium. So anyway, I think it's one of the approaches that a ton more should be done in. We need more money in material science. We need more money in batteries. We need more money in transmission. This is an underinvestment area where, if the government actually does raise trading money or carbon tax money, some of the bills that have been proposed don't actually fund R&D at a reasonable level. So it's kind of a tragic thing that hopefully if we get a revenue source that we can take the energy R&D and get it up, maybe a factor of 3 or 4 more. There's a few good things going on like DARPA-E, but that doesn't work for nuclear. But I love nuclear. It does this radiation thing is tricky, but they're good solutions. It was interesting recently in Connecticut. This natural gas plant blew up 11 guys. It just blew them up. Actually, I think killed 5 and injured 6. If that had been a nuclear plant, everybody would know about that. Coal mines. Yeah, China did a good job last year. They went from 3,300 guys dying in coal mining accidents to 2,600. Very impressive, don't you think? But if nuclear had killed those 2,600 people, we would just be, kiss the whole industry goodbye. It's interesting, deaths per megawatt, nuclear is the minimizer of these things. But it's got a lot of challenges. But it's great. I'm glad that there's this renaissance of people going into nuclear. We have this company, and everybody in the company is either over 60 because they have done something, or they're in their 20s or 30s because they're open-minded and optimistic. So it's an interesting bimodal. We don't have anybody in their 40s and 50s because that was the nuclear shutdown period is when those people would have been trained.